beer, it's good for you.
Hello and welcome to the video. In this video I'll be brewing with the Gen 4 65 litre BrewZilla to its minimum batch size. I am simply honoured to be the only YouTube channel so far to receive the new Gen 4 BrewZilla 65. That at the point of making this video is unreleased anywhere in the world. I look forward to giving you gradual updates on my brews and tests over time with both the 65 and 35 litre Gen 4 systems. So let's get on with it. One of the great things about these new Gen 4 BrewZilla systems is that the minimum batch size has shrunk down to a mere 5 litres, which is 1.3 US gallons. I find this especially interesting as my chosen test batch size is exactly this. You may have seen a previous video of mine as shown on screen now that demonstrates the setup that I have been using for test batches. Now it should be pointed out that the minimum measurement on the BrewZilla 65 scale is 10 litres and 3 US gallons. However, Brewfather suggested strike water of 7 litres for this 5 litre end batch, so I measured out this water in a bucket before adding. No big deal, but I feel it is important to mention all of the details. The grain bill for this small test batch is a really simple one. I have malt that has enough gravity to take this one over 6%. In terms of weight, we have 1.28 kilos of grain, which is 2.82 pounds. As I add this grain in, I am mindful that there is not much water above the bottom plate, but I have 3.4 litres of sparge water to play with just in case I need it. Once all of this grain was in, it was clear that I would need to use at least some of this sparge water for this brew, and I ended up adding 1 litre, and that was satisfactory. Let's now set up the mash profile using the controller. What you see on screen are the profiles that I have added so far, which are available for both my Gen 4 brewing systems. The one I need for this brew is what I call the cookie cutter, which is the classic 65-75 degrees Celsius 2-step mash. This is the equivalent of a 149 to 167 Fahrenheit 2-step mash. During this first brew I tested the pit algorithm that is optional for Gen 4. This is a feature that is usually associated by a higher price tag and is found as an optional feature with the BrewTools systems and an always-on feature with the newer Grainfather systems. This pit algorithm avoids temperature overshooting when it is working well. The problem has always been to make it work well enough for a range of different batch sizes, which is a difficult task. I am happy to say that even with this unreleased BrewZilla 65 system, this worked well for this brew. This was performed with default settings except that I set the temperature hysteresis to 0.5 degrees Celsius in my first test here. However, should you wish to fine-tune this, then Kegland offer the user the opportunity to do just that with full access to the pit algorithm settings being made available via the controller. This is the very first time that I've seen this on a homebrewing system, and it gets a major thumbs up from me. I also really like the amount of information available on the display panel on this controller. At the top left here we have the date and time, and then to the right of this we have various status symbols. Running from left to right, these symbols indicate that the Bluetooth is on, the pit algorithm is active, that we are currently heating, that we are running a temperature profile, and lastly that the Wi-Fi is active. Under this is the name of our current mush profile, which is totally user configurable. Then we have the actual temperature in large numerals. Then below this to the left is the heating percentage, which can be controlled in 5% increments or turned off. The pump section to the right works in exactly the same way, but there is also a physical pump button on the top left of the controller. Below this we have our target temperature, which can be controlled finely by fractions of a decimal point. Then we have the next step, which is informational when you are running a mash profile. I guess that the rest of the buttons on the controller need no further explanation, but if you are unsure, just ask me in the comments section and I will happily help. Here is a look at how a small batch mash looks like with the top mashing plate in place. You will note that the top plate's middle section is inset further down compared to the outer areas, which step up one more height level on the outer section, due to the low liquid level of this minimum batch size that is just filling the centre. Kegland have made it clear that this top plate is optional, but with this brew I hit my numbers with a mash efficiency of over 80% without any intervention at all. As you would imagine, heating up to the boil with 3.5 kilowatts worth of power with a small batch is incredibly fast. For this test I kept with the pit algorithm for the boil, and even when setting the controller to 101 or 102 degrees Celsius, the temperature never went much higher than 100 degrees Celsius. I found this to be an impressive level of control considering we have such a small batch size being heated by a large and powerful heating system. The footage you see here, by the way, has me using a large fan to blow the steam away and out of a window, so then I can film this more easily and to control the steam level in the room. Should steam be something that you wish to fully control, then Kegland have already released a full steam condenser setup that fits this model and the previous ones that I've featured on a video shown on screen now. During the boil I added a few different hop additions which were naturally quite small due to this small batch size. I especially enjoyed this rock solid boil temperature level. Once the boil was over, I then cooled and transferred this small batch into a 5 litre demijohn, as you can see here. After some litres of wort, I then stopped the pump transfer and pitched my yeast before then continuing to transfer the rest of the wort. It was then time to look at doing some cleaning, and this is how the false bottom looked after this brew before I started to clean. To start off, I removed the false bottom from the brewing system and hosed it down both sides to remove all of the hop matter. Brewing in a bathroom certainly has its benefits, as this is an easy thing to do in your bath or shower. I then opened the bottom tap and turned on the pump to remove all remaining liquid from the system. The BrewZilla Gen 4 systems have a bowed bottom, so you can remove literally all liquid via the bottom tap, which is a very handy feature. I then added more water to clean out the remaining trub in the system. This was then drained out fully using the tap back into the bucket. I then closed the tap and added water and cleaner to the system and did the usual cleaning routine, but was pleased by the fact that I could totally empty the system each time via the bottom tap. I consider this to be a really good first test brew with a potentially challenging small batch size that worked well even on a totally unreleased brewing system as this is at this point. I find it very impressive that such a small batch size can be brewed within a larger homebrew system, giving Gen 4 BrewZillas a greater level of brewing volume flexibility when compared to other systems on the market. Let's not forget that this Gen 4 65 litre unit can also be comfortably pushed to just under 120 litres if you purchase Kegland's boil extenders. I certainly found that the new features of the BrewZilla Gen 4 models enhance the brewing experience, not only in terms of functionality but also in making the A to Z process easier. I very much look forward to my next brew with one of the two new Gen 4 BrewZilla brewing systems, which will be a single keg batch next time. Once I have some more brews under my belt with these, I will then release more detailed videos that provide a full overview and impressions of the Gen 4 units. For more information about Gen 4, here at this point are my two other videos. The first is my buyer's guide where I fully compare Gen 3 to Gen 4, and then the second gives Keith from Kegland centre stage where he is talking all about Gen 4. Check them both out if you have not already, and please let me know in the comments section if you have any Gen 4 requests for future content. I do hope that you found this video useful, informative and interesting. If so, why not consider liking and subscribing? For further support you can join the channel's Facebook group, and if you would like to support the channel then check out the channel's merchandise store, as all profits go back into the channel. Until next time, happy brewing!